Part of my obsession quest is to take all 6 different species of bear on the Safari Club list. The Alaskan brown bear, the Alaskan grizzly bear, the barren ground grizzly, the polar bear, the common black bear, and the island bear. 6 different species. This week we're going to do the Alaskan grizzly bear and the barren ground grizzly out of Canada. 2 different species. What an exciting show. Makes me think of when we first started the bear camp back in Ontario with Jerry Ochtenberg that has since passed away. Good friend, good memories. This is to you, Jerry, my good friend.
Bass Pro Shops and Alamositos Ranch present Bob Volkrod's Hunting Adventures. Seven continents, 80 species, a 5-year quest in the making. High adventure, dangerous game, real-world training tips. This is Bob Volkrod's Hunting Adventures.
The Bering Strait and its sea ice form one of the most productive ecosystems on the planet. Churning currents bring forth nutrients that support some of the biggest animals on Earth, including huge grizzly bears.
Well, the difference between hunting here in the springtime and hunting in the fall is you just never know in the springtime when it's going to break up, what the weather's going to do.
The spring hunt is generally a boat hunt where you cruise the beaches, you follow 20 to 30 miles of shoreline in an evening, and you view the beach looking for bears. And generally there's a good population, you see good numbers, and they migrate here in the spring, more or less, to the beaches because that's the first big food source they have. And bears are opportunists. Where there's food, that's where they're going to be.
Well, we got off the airplane and Vance met us with a big smile and shook our hand. He says, well, I got good news and I got bad news. And I said, well, what's the good news? He says, well, you're here. And I said, what's the bad news? He says, the ice hasn't left yet. And when the ice hasn't left, that means a lot of things. You can't get to where you want to go, and without the ice breakup, it doesn't bring the food source back in to make the bears want to come to the ocean.
We'll get a little better look at this ice.
Oh, she's socked in, isn't she?
Yeah, it's really held fast to the shoreline right here because it's shallow. There's not a lot of depth to the water, and that ice will stay here. But as soon as we get a high tide, it'll lift up, and if we get a little east wind, it'll blow it right out, west to the ocean.
Yeah.
That's what we're waiting for. It's getting broke up though. You can see how it's busting up a little bit, and every day it'll get a little better.
Well, she comes right up close then to bring all that wood and everything up on shore like that, huh?
Yeah, when we get a strong west wind, when there's no ice here, it'll bring this wood right up and pile it up, and we get some good storms in September.
Huh.
There'll be 10, 12-foot breakers out here.
Well, I guess we'll just wait for Mother Nature to break it up for us. Huh?
Yeah.
Nothing else we can do, right?
It'll take care of it.
Yeah.
And as the tide comes in, this ice is going to lift up, and we get the right wind, and it's gone. It'll go west. And we'll be in good shape.
So you're just telling me patience, right?
Patience. A little bit of patience, and we'll be out of here.
All right.
Although Bob completed his obsession quest taking over 80 animals with a rifle, his first love has always been bow hunting. He's teamed up with longtime friend and archery coach Mike Price to help make you a better bow shot. This week's archery lesson is brought to you by Heritage Archery Academy and these great archery sponsors: Hoyt, True Ball, Easton, Limb Saver, Gateway Feathers, and Dirt Nap.
Today we're going to talk about release choices. We're going to talk about a caliper style release, which today I think about 90% of the hunters use these. One of the first things you want to do is you want to fit it to your wrist. So that's my first fit, because this release is adjustable by removing that screw and that screw So it'll adjust to the length of my hand or my finger when I'm at full draw, because they all stretch. So don't be convinced as soon as you hold it that it's too short, because a lot of guys, I'll put it in their hand and they'll go, oh my gosh, Mike, that's way too short. But you'll see, even with a simulator, that it stretches out and it fits me perfectly. So the release fit is a huge deal, because my bow can fit me. If I put another release in my hand that is longer, that just made my draw length too long. And if it's shorter, it made it too short. So before you set your draw length with the other parameters we gave you, remember the release is an integral part of your draw length. With a caliper style release or any release, you can shoot this thing pretty much 4 different ways. You can slap the snot out of the trigger, which is usually the least accurate. You can slow manipulate it. So if I anchor and I slowly squeeze it like a rifle and my hand stays on my jaw, that's slow manipulation. As I anchor into my jaw, like we talked about previously, and I just squeeze the trigger. If you come to full draw, you get on the trigger, and I increase my back tension or pull on the bow a little bit more, and I squeeze the trigger at the same time, that's slow manipulation and back tension all in one. And then I get up here and I squeeze, my hand comes off because I have preloaded pressure in my back. Then you can use pure back tension, which I hook around the trigger and I increase the pressure in my back, which pulls on the release. My hand stretches out a little bit and the release goes off, which I'll demonstrate for you. I relax, get up around the trigger, and I just increase the pressure on my bow with my back, and the shot just breaks. What we forget is we all think that the only torque on the bow, or where we can torque the bow, is at our bow hand. You can torque the bow as much at your loop, if not more, than your bow hand. So whatever you do to the loop, you do to the arrow. If you're on top of the trigger like this, and every time you execute, you hammer it down, well, the back of your loop goes down. We're in the age of very, very high let-off bows, which, remember, whatever you do to the loop, you do to the arrow. If your loop goes down, the back of the arrow dishes just a little bit. So this should help you with accuracy with a caliper release.